Thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. So again, I'm Javier Tallón from jtsec, and this time I'm here to talk to you about CCCAB, which is a project funded by SAFE Telecom. It's a project that we are leading in close collaboration with the Italian ICCOM and the Spanish CCN and their respective certification bodies, the OC and NOCSI. Thank you both for joining us in this journey. Both organizations are in the process of being designated as NCCAs in line with the CSA, and will also assume the responsibility of emitting certificates for the CSA high level, while jtsec may develop a CAB for the CSA substantial level or not. We will see. I'm very happy to see a lot of interest in automation during this Congress, and congratulations, Bob and NIAP, for all the improvements in your tool. But let me begin with a bit of criticism about how we are working today, because we are too slow. We need to comply with so many standards, norms, and regulation that it is difficult to focus on what we are actually expected to do. That is, evaluate the cybersecurity of ICT products and emit certificates. But let me bring a ray of light, because a lot of the ugly things can be automated, which means less time to obtain a certificate and lower economic cost for everyone. And this is a market need. We all expect the number of certifications to increase in the coming years, especially with this new European scheme. And on the other hand, we are facing two problems. The first one is the fast pace in the evolution of IT, which results in more frequent releases of new versions of IT products. And the second one, which is the lack of talent in cybersecurity, and specifically in people able to understand common criteria and what we do here. So, according to the CSA, a conformity assessment body shall mean a body that performs conformity assessment activities, including calibration, testing, certification, and inspection. And in ICCC version 1.1.1, this concept is further refined using the terminology that we have used for a long time. A CAB designates both the certification body and the ITCF, while the CB is the one in charge of the issuance of certificates, and the ITCF is the one that does the testing. In this sense, CCCAB, this tool, specifically deals with the certification and validation activities. And as you probably already know, ICCC also comes with more obligations for CVs and ITCFs that we need to deal with. So, very briefly, CCCAB is a project, tool that will allow common criteria CABs under this new UCC scheme to smooth the certification process for ICT products, reducing the cost and the time in the certification process using automation. This project is fully aligned with the Cybersecurity Act and is funded by SAFE Telecom. And we have involved two of the major national schemes under the SOJAIS agreement. I guess that it sounds quite good. Well, it gets even better because it will be released under an open source license, so everyone can use it and improve it for free. We have basically one objective. Our objective here is to make it easier for CAB CVs to emit certificates, increasing their efficiency. In the first place, we think that having a tool that guides the process will dramatically flatten the learning curve for the people that we work with, and allow focusing on what is really important. This is something indeed that we have already experienced in our own teams, using tools to ease the consulting and the evaluation process. It's not the same at all to face a bunch of papers, procedures, and forms than to have an automated system that guides you through the process step by step. So having this kind of tool will not only allow improving the quality and efficiency of our current schemes, but will also allow newcomers and also substantial level CABs to provide high quality results from the very beginning. Besides, having a common tool for everyone will allow us to share good practice between CABs. And being an open source tool allows everyone to make improvements that the whole community can benefit of. Think about it this way. If my CAB is audited by a national accreditation body or by the NCCA, and we find a process that is non-conformant, we can implement the solution in the tool and remove this problem from the whole UCC scheme. Of course, the tool needs to be able to provide means to communicate with other actors in the certification process. For example, we will need to interface with ENISA to publish a new certificate, or with our internal or external ITCCs to receive the evaluation technical report of a product, for example. And I think that this way, certifiers can focus on what is really relevant, that is the validation of the reports. So why is CCCAB needed? Well, by now, I hope that is crystal clear to everyone that there is a market need to do things faster and better. But let me share with you that our preliminary calculations show that we could save around 25% of the certification effort for existing CABs, CVs. And in the case of new CABs, CCCAB will increase the expected quality from the beginning. And finally, being an open source tool, it can be potentially adapted to be used in other future European schemes. As I told you before, automation is not new for jtsec. We have good experience creating tools to ease the generation and evaluation of CC documentation. And we felt that there was also a need for a tool that could allow smoothing and speeding up the certification process, and that the whole community could take advantage of it. So for technology enthusiasts, let me tell you that we will use React for the front end and Laravel for the back end, and this will enable the use of the tool in any kind of device, including a tablet or even your mobile phone. Well, in order to understand the tool a little more, I think it is necessary to explain its most important features. Currently, it is in its early stage of development, so it is not yet possible to show it. I'm sorry about that. So this is a very high view of the architecture that we have in mind. And I will try to use this drawing to guide you through the rest of the features of the tool. Okay, so one of the most important functions is the tool's capacity to help in the global management of the project, allowing one to have a global view of all the projects in progress in the CAB, showing the percentage of progress, if there are pending tasks, etc. In addition, each user, each validator assigned to a project will be able to fill out a project log describing the most important findings or events needed for project management. And the system will also record all user activity and allow the administrator user to review the associated events. Indeed, the creation of a centralized panel is in tune with the idea of developing an intuitive and attractive user interface. So with this panel, you will be able to manage users from a central control panel, view statistics, pull up reports, etc., to have an overview of what is happening. Our objective is that all the validation work is done inside the tool. We have learned that our engineers are not happy when using Office tools. They want to feel engineers, but still we need to share our work with others. So CCCAB must allow the generation in docx or PDF format of all the information entered as part of the previous task, like, for example, the validation reports. So this task also includes the printing of the certification report and other applicable documents and forms. The first thing that we plan to develop is what we call the validation framework, and this includes the presentation engine. We need a tool that our engineers want to use, so we are designing a user-friendly interface whose use is intuitive and agile, and allowing configuration of corporate colors and logos, thus ensuring uniformity and consistency. CCCAB at the end will function as an assistant or wizard, which guides the user step by step in the validation of the ICCC work, requesting the introduction of the necessary information to validate an evaluation, and write or generate the validation reports. The wizard will inform the validators, the certifiers, of the next steps in the validation process, as well as detect the parts of the validation that need to be completed or present some kind of problem. Don't know. CCCAB will be used by multiple validators working in different projects to which they have been assigned, and that's why we need the access control and authorization subsystem. It will be a collaborative tool, so several users will be able to collaborate simultaneously on the same project online. The reviewing and approval process require a mechanism that guarantees the authenticity of the signatory's identity. So we are working on different signature systems like GPG, or using XML or PDF signatures on the client side. A very important part in every common criteria validation is the management of evidence. So we will have a subsystem that will take care of the information delivered by the manufacturer, security target, and so on, and the information delivered by the ICCC, the ETR, the observation reports, etc. CCCAB must allow the loading of evidence from the ICCC as well as from the manufacturer in order to reference it later as part of the validation activity. So in this way, it is possible, for example, to know in a programmatic way which work units will be affected by the manufacturers delivering a new version of an evidence. The CC analysis engine will use the XML version of the standard to access the contents of the norm. And moreover, we think that the experience of our team of common criteria certifiers should be reflected in expert advice associated with each validation steps. So these expert tips will somehow guide CCCAB users in the implementation of validation tasks, particularly those with a lower level of automation. Finally, CCCAB will have a non-conformity subsystem, allowing the automatic generation of non-conformities based on the text entered in the validation reports and requiring ICCCs to update the technical reports provided and correct the problems found. The CCCAB interface will also enable easy tracing of open non-conformities, allowing the validator to see the status of all non-conformities issued during the course of the evaluation at a glance. When the validation framework is ready and validation reports can be emitted and printed, we will start developing the smart validation system, the brain in CCCAB. We think that the clear definition of a machine-to-machine language and a human-to-machine standard to interact with ICCCs and with manufacturers provides a structured interface for the automatic generation of validation reports. This is what will make the magic happen. So then CCCAB can analyze the documentary evidence, introduce it for an evaluation, generating a preliminary validation report that will include the expected validation tasks automatically completed. We will develop an ICCC communication parser that will allow ICCCs to provide all the evidence that they must send to the CB in an XML file, for example. And this XML file must be able to be used as the main information exchange method between the CB and the ICCC. So when an ICCC has new modifications to provide, he will deliver a new version of this XML file to the CAB CB. And in this way, CCCAB must be able to interpret the contents of the XML files to extract the needed information. During the course of an evaluation, there are several moments in which the manufacturers should communicate directly with the CAB CB instead of through the ICCC. And usually this communication is performed through email using natural language, or in more advanced cases, using tools like PDF forms. We will use PDF forms to create a manufacturer's communication parser that can automatically extract the information provided by the human responsible on the manufacturer side and take appropriate actions based on the extracted information. So, for example, this would allow the automatic creation of a new certification file based on a correctly filled PDF form, or if there are errors detected in the form, the automatic sending of an email to the manufacturer asking to correct the errors. This for sure will improve certification times. We have seen indeed that many of the validation tasks can be automated thanks to the structured content of the XML and PDF files. So in each validation task that allows automation, CCCAB's interface will present an automatic filling button that, based on the content of the information provided by the different actors, can automatically generate the validation text just by pressing a button. This automatically generated text can then be modified by the CCCAB user, who has the ultimate control over the validation. And also, CCCAB will be designed with UCC and the CSA requirements in mind from end to end. There are some very specific topics that will require a greater level of study and deepening to be implemented. And at the moment, we have identified two of them. The first one is the communication with the ENISA website. ENISA will surely provide interface to allow CABs to upload new information. So CCCAB will benefit from these interfaces to allow automatic upload of newly issued certificates, withdrawal of certificates in case of non-compliance, and several other interactions. The second one is the compliance system. Amongst other things, we will need to provide a way to get notified about potential vulnerabilities through, for example, an electronic mailbox. And we will also need to monitor vulnerabilities that may affect a certified product. This way, we can get information from public sources about vulnerabilities on a daily basis and automatically check if any of the vulnerabilities made public potentially affect the cybersecurity of a certified product. And on the other hand, private or public researchers may also notify vulnerabilities in the certified product using a vulnerability inbox where they can send a predefined PDF form that the tool can automatically process. Those processes, which may happen quite often, will require a high degree of automation. So we will take advantage of all the features that we have already described, including a notification system to the certifiers responsible for the product, the parsing of the public vulnerability information from public sources, the communication with the ICCC using XML, or the signing using the PDF signature, the automatic sending to the relevant NCCA of the information needed. So after you have seen what the tool will look like and get an idea of it, you may be wondering, well, what is the plan of these guys to develop the tool? So we have divided the project in 5 different phases. And the first phase requires the analysis of the current state-of-the-art tools for certification bodies. Overall, the development of a functional specification and an information exchange language for CCCABs that want to communicate with ICCCs or with the manufacturers using PDF forms, as I said before. The goal of the second phase is to develop the validation framework, incorporating a user-friendly user interface, the basic characteristics to do what we could call manual validation. The objective in the third phase is the development of the smart validation system, including the management of the communication with third parties, the automatic filling of the validation reports and the expert tips. The goal in the fourth phase is to develop functionality to ease and enhance communication with ENISA and the implementation of other specifics of the UCC. And finally, we plan CCCAB to be tested on a real project so we can correct the bugs that may be found in a real scenario.
We're at 5 minutes, Javier.
Okay, thank you. I will need just one. The project started in May this year and will have a total duration of 2 years. Currently, we are going to complete the first step. And if everything goes fine, and I hope it will, all the planned functionality will be finished, delivered, and presented in, hopefully, ICCC 2023. And that's all, folks. I hope that I have raised your interest in CCCAB, in using it when we finish with the development. This is an open source project, as I said before, so please feel free to send us your comments, your ideas, because what we really want is to create a tool that is useful for the whole community. So if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you for that presentation. That was very interesting. And we do have a couple of questions. The first one is how the tool ensures confidentiality, knowledge of the TOE criteria during and after the evaluation process. Do you plan to certify the tool, for instance?
There is no current plan on certifying the tool. Of course, as you already know, all the open source projects are free of vulnerability, so this is not a problem. Just joking. At the end, we want the tool to be able to be used in every environment. We are indeed even considering the possibility to use the tool in disconnected system if this is needed. But regarding certification, there are no current plans to certify, but it would be a good idea.
Okay. The other question was, can you provide a link to where the source is being housed? Like, do you have a GitHub repo at the moment, or not yet?
Not really. The plan is to release the source code when the development is finished, and this is the way that we will handle it.
Okay. I guess one last question that I had, because I just wanted to make sure, is the plan that you would that someone would host this, or that I would download it, run it myself locally? So like it helps me, or is it that it's
we plan to use, we plan to use Docker, so you can download it, and run it in your own environment.
Okay. All right.